Are you looking for a way to make a real difference in mental health? Thank You Life is here to help. They are a nonprofit dedicated to making evidence-based mental health therapies accessible to those who need it most. At Thank You Life, they provide financial assistance for ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, helping individuals struggling with treatment-resistant depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Their mission is to eliminate financial barriers to these life-changing treatments and ensure everyone has the opportunity to heal. And the results speak for themselves. Their data shows that the average beneficiary experiences a 55% reduction in symptoms, which is on par with the broader ketamine research that we see. If you're in private practice or own a business and want to learn more about how you can help your local community, connect with them today, thankyoulife.org, or email them at partnerships@thankyoulife.org. Again, that's thankyoulife.org, or email them partnerships@thankyoulife.org. Thank You Life, healing through accessibility. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1040. So would love for you to get your videos on, and if you can switch it to gallery mode where you can see everyone that's here. That's a little bit more helpful than some of our other Level Up Week things. But Lisa, thanks so much for having your video on. Good to see your face. So why don't we, as people start to come in, before we have enough to do our breakout rooms, I'll share what Level Up Week, what's working, what that is in just a second. But we'd love to hear from some of you that have your video on. What's good in your private practice right now? So Beliza, you're unmuted. Why don't you jump in? What's good in your private practice?
Sure. So I'm pivoting from hiring. So I'm taking a break from employees and I'm working on creating some kid cards and some parenting videos, which I'm
Ooh,
very excited about. More excited
leveling up into
about
audience
that.
building stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a meeting in a couple weeks, so I'm excited.
Oh, sweet. 2 minutes, a couple weeks. I want to talk to you about it now. Darn schedule and boundaries. Oh, Wendy, I see you're unmuted. How's your practice going?
Hi, I hired my clinical director, and they're taking over so much for me. Now I'm considering not doing any clients at all. Right, I'm hardly seeing anybody, but I'm really looking forward to not doing any. I'm doing a lot more writing, videos, and I've almost got a TED Talk, so I'm fingers crossed.
How did that conversation go with the person? Wasn't that Sunday?
That was Sunday.
Yeah, I was thinking about you on Sunday.
Oh, thanks. He was great. My field is autism. My late husband, two of my kids, autistic. He is an autistic man who's an organizer. And since the pandemic, he never went back to in person. So he only does virtual TEDx, which means I don't have to get on a plane and get a hotel room and all those things. Oh. So I can put that money into getting a professional studio stuff for it.
So fun. That's awesome. Excited. Very cool. Victoria, I see you have your video on. Are you up for sharing what's going on in your private practice?
I just filed my LLC last week.
Oh my gosh, we had someone in the last webinar that I think Aubrey just filed. Is Aubrey in here? No, Aubrey just filed it 30 minutes before the webinar. So
oh, that's awesome.
You got to be in the next level practice group together because, oh my word, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I just filed. I'm getting my bank account stuff set up today. Yeah, I don't have any clients and I have not advertised myself because I've been being a chicken, but
we can talk about that today. You don't need to be a chicken. Okay. Do you have our 28-step checklist to walk through kind of your initial steps?
Yeah, I've been working through that and I think I'm on track.
I mean, you filed. That's amazing. So
yeah,
we'll talk a little bit today. Cool. Well, those of you that don't have your video on, let me just share what What's Working is so that you have an idea of how this works. So once a month, we do this for all of our membership communities. So it's usually the second Wednesday of the month at 1 o'clock is usually when we have What's Working. And so the way it works is anyone from our membership communities can come, whether they're in Next Level Practice, Group Practice Launch, or Group Practice Boss. And the guiding principle of What's Working is that as a community, we are stronger and smarter together than if any one of us was individually out there. If I was just always teaching you, there's going to be lots of blind spots that I have or ways that I think about private practice that is completely off. And so we also think that it's really valuable to have people at different phases of practice sharing, because sometimes those new eyes of someone that's brand new, someone like Victoria, you may think about something different than Beliza, and you can help each other. Where sometimes when we're so far into it, we lose that new person eye, and it can be really helpful. And so we're not going to be dividing you up in regards to phase of practice today, but we are going to do What's Working, kind of our typical What's Working. So if all of you that are not in an unsafe place could turn your video on now. We are going to be actually going into small groups and talking in groups of 3 or 4. So this is interactive. It's meant to be connecting. It's meant to be not just the business talk and shop stuff, which is great, but also to just get to know other therapists that are out there. Sort of like a happy hour, a meet and greet. I don't think any of us probably have drinks at this time of day, but to really have that same spirit of getting to know each other and digging in and hearing about each other on a deeper level. So thank you for turning your video on. If you aren't in a place where you can turn video on, at least if you can plan to turn audio on, because we are going to be talking to each other. And it is kind of awkward if there's just someone that's just sitting there and they aren't talking and you can't see them. But if that's where you need to be, just let the group know kind of why. So if you're in a situation where you're managing kids, you're welcome to participate and have your video and audio off if that's what you need. But we definitely want to know if you end up in a room with 2 people with their audio and video off, please raise your hand. Let me know so you're not alone. We can put you in an active group. Awesome. So the first question I'm going to ask you, and we're going to put you into groups of about 3, sometimes there ends up being 4, is kind of who are you and what's maybe one area you feel like you are rocking out in private practice. Now, you might be like Victoria, who just filed her LLC last month. So your rocking out might be, I'm just getting a little organized. Like, I don't really know what to do. And then after you each kind of introduce yourself and what you feel like is going well, I want you to just kind of get some advice from each other. Like, how would you think through things? Try not to just be the guru in the group. Just like share a few things, listen, say, here's how I would think about it. We're going to have about 10 minutes in this first group. So I'm going to give you a little more time than maybe in some of the other groups that are going to be a little quicker. But I want you to get to know these people. These may be people that you end up having lifelong friendships with, that you just happen to both come to this webinar and boom, here you are, and you're talking What's Working. If new people come in, please just let them know what they're doing, because I'm going to put them directly into a small group and they're going to be like, wait, what's happening? So, and it's always fun and entertaining when that happens. But just say, hey, we're in small groups right now, just talking. Joe just put you in here. When we come back, then we're going to talk big picture. What are really cool things that other people said? And I'll give you directions there. So when you go in the small groups, again, just introduce yourself. What's some things that you feel like you're doing really well in your private practice? And then give each other thoughts, advice, tips, and get to know each other a little bit. All right, I'm going to do these breakout rooms. We're going to assign automatically, put you in. We got 5, so you're going to be in 3 to 4 people. We're going to create that. Going to give you 10 minutes. And then here we go. Have fun. Welcome back, everybody. Look at all those smiling faces. I always love it. Well, so now when we come back from our small groups, we report out things that we thought were just awesome. So this is a way to get a lot of information of what's working very quickly. So we go into small groups, we have these great conversations, and then it's like, oh my gosh, this blew my mind. So this is a chance for you to share what someone else said, to point to them and say, oh my gosh, what Esther said, it just blew my mind. This is not a chance to say, I'm really awesome. I said this really cool thing in the group. Everybody should really look to me because that was so awesome. No, you're pointing to somebody else and you're just saying this was incredible. That really helped me out. So go ahead and we'll just kind of, as I see people unmute, I'll kind of call on you. Just we'll probably do 5 or 6 of these. But what's something that someone's doing in private practice that just really inspires you?
Can I go?
Yeah, go for it, Wendy.
You mentioned Esther, and I was in her group, and I wanted to say she hired a new clinician recently, so she is taking that step, and it's so exciting to see that step. Although others in the group, that's not their direction. They are their own practice. And that's amazing too. So I really loved our group.
Awesome. Other things that stood out.
I felt like encouraged. Bernie is an associate like me, and he's running his own private practice, which just gives me some hope and that I'm not being totally crazy here. And then Trisha was sharing that she's like a little inundated with all the resources and trying to figure out just how to navigate even the circle stuff. And that made me feel a little bit less behind and out of place because we're all just trying to figure it out. So that was helpful for me.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that we've heard that, in Next Level Practice, we have a whole lot of things in there, and we kind of wanted it to be a choose your own adventure. But in group practice launch, one thing that we did is we really made a step-by-step, month-by-month course to just start. And people have loved it. And so we're evaluating what that would look like for Next Level Practice. So I'm actually going to be recording in early April, the next 4 hours here in town at Stone Hut Studios. And so every month I'm going to be doing 4 hours of video. So that's probably going to be what we start to do with Next Level Practice and group practice boss, to just have like, what are the basics, like in college where you have the things that you have to take, and then the rest is sort of the electives. So that's coming. Awesome. Michelle just joined group practice launch yesterday. We got a bunch of people that are leveling up this week. That's incredible. Other things that stood out to you that was really helpful that people said. And Victoria, I think one thing you pointed to as someone else unmutes is just feeling, affirmed by Bernie, and how, when we get together and we say, man, like, I get that. I was there. It can be a shit show sometimes. Or we say, keep it up, just keep going. Like, it's so powerful to just be in community with other people. Yeah, other folks that want to unmute and share a little bit. That's all that was inspiring. I do all this work and there's zero inspiration other than two people.
Well, I'd like to go.
Yeah, go ahead, Dee.
I was impressed with Wendella, who said that she's all the way up to audience building, and I thought, gosh, I wanted to ask her so badly, how did you manage the time between working and going up all these different levels, where she's now the audience level part. So I just thought that was very impressive. And
share, Wendy, how did you go from solo to group to audience building?
Well, having the structure with practice of the practice gave me what I needed. But I do have to say, I worked 40 years in the school system. I'm retired, and I can live off my retirement, which is a place of privilege. But now I was able to build up my practice without being at risk of, will I be able to pay my rent? So that's kind of a unique position. But I've seen other people who were not retired, who were able to do all this and make the living that they want to make. So my way was the easy way. After 40 years is the easy way. but I don't recommend waiting 40 years to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing that we often teach in our communities and through the podcast is like looking at the plate that you have of all your work. And that if you're full-time somewhere and then you have your private practice, and like, where can you free up like space on your plate? Because we don't want to add more to it just to stress you out and max you out. We want to take stuff off there. So that might mean initial steps are, maybe you're in solo practice and it's like, okay, I need to have an assistant that answers the phones. I need to have a biller that does the billing. I'm going to just simply take off like 2 hours a week of what I'm working on. And then in those 2 hours, I'm going to maybe hire my first person. It might be super part-time, 1099 or W-2. They're just going to do a handful. So now we start to get some passive income. And then it's like, okay, now I'm going to take more off my plate. Now I have more money coming in. I'm going to have an assistant take on all the social media. I'm going to outsource website. I'm going to outsource pay-per-click. So you take that off your plate. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to really get to be a group practice. And so now I have 2 or 3 people working for me. I'm going to do fewer client hours now. And I'm going to make sure that in those extra 5 hours a week, I'm going to maybe just go on a bunch of podcasts and just start talking about what I love. And if there's something that sticks there, we go after it. And if not, we don't. So that idea of we're experimenting, we're trying, we're taking things off the plate. And it's just this repeatable cycle of your plate's full. We got to get stuff off your plate. Then with that extra time, make sure you're putting that actually into that thing that's going to help you level up. Early on, the book, The One Thing, was super helpful for me. It's a business book that has the central question of what's the one thing that if you did that now, it would help make everything else either easier or non-existent. And so for me, it was, okay, I'm seeing clients at this rate. I'm full. If I just this year had 3 other clinicians that were at 10 hours a week, that's going to really bring in some extra money at 35%. And then after that, it was like, okay, I'm going to do consulting at twice my counseling rate. And so I need to have X number of people, per month working with me at twice my counseling rate. And then it was if I had small groups that I was helping, at a lower rate than my consulting, but I'm still making more than my counseling. And so every year, just kind of looking at, what's going to help me optimize going from one-on-one to one to a few to one to many to one to the masses. That's kind of what we're looking at. Wendy's taking over the world of autism assessment. I remember just a couple years ago, she's like, I want to have a clinician that's licensed in every single state. And, that was just a couple years ago. And Wendy, where are you at now with that goal?
Okay. I think I've got 12 states that are not covered.
Okay.
And those are states that we don't get a lot of requests from it. Like Alaska and Hawaii, we hardly get anybody.
Yeah.
But we used to have just, we've added like 27 or we've added 30 states actually since I started. 30 states. So, yay.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Wendy, I'm going to ask you a question that's going to inspire our next small group. For you, what was one thing you've done over the last 2 years that helped you level up?
For me, it was hiring the right people. I have a practice manager and now a clinical director who are amazing. And most of my clinicians, I've got 6 clinicians right now. Most of them are autistic themselves. And they're amazing. They can really relate to our people. And they are all really happy to work for a place where I don't care if they STEM. And if they're all really part-time with me and they have their day jobs and then they work with me and they love working in a place that is so very accepting of them exactly as they are. And I just feel like I'm more and more being able to say, you guys go, you get it. I don't have to direct it so much. And it frees me up to do other writing and podcasts and hopefully TEDx.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to use that as an inspiration for our small groups. I want you in the next group to discuss that idea of taking things off of your plate. So to think of outsourcing, hiring the right people, thinking through that. And some of you, like at the very beginning, Victoria said she just filed her LLC. This might be dreaming way bigger than she ever thought she'd be dreaming today, but that's okay. That's why we're here in this group. And so to just think about, like, how do you think through outsourcing? How do you think through automating? How do you think through potentially even hiring the right people? Wherever that conversation goes, you're going to have about 10 minutes. We're going to reconfigure these groups so you're in groups of about 3 or 4. We're going to recreate them. And there we go. Enjoy. I am so excited about Alma. When I had my private practice, I struggled building my caseload, attracting the right clients, managing the business side. And honestly, one of the reasons I didn't take insurance was it was so difficult to navigate. So many of my consulting clients deal with these problems as well. And Alma supports clinicians in building rewarding private practices with simplified insurance credentialing in under 45 days, enhanced reimbursement rates, and guaranteed 2-week payback. Plus a free profile in their searchable, filterable directory, making it easy for clients who are the right fit for your practice to find you. Learn more about how Alma could support your private practice at helloalma.com/Joe. That's hello, ALMA.com/Joe to learn more. Welcome back, everybody. Look at all those smiling faces yet again. We're 2 for 2. Awesome. Same as last time. We're just going to unmute and share things that just were inspiring. So we talked about outsourcing. We talked about hiring, taking things off your plate. What did someone else say that for you, you're like, oh my gosh, that was so awesome? Or maybe it was just like kind of adequate. Just something that got you thinking. Belisa, I see you're unmuted. Jump on in.
Yeah, my web person actually was in the room with me. He does my web site, which is amazing. So he gave me a great book recommendation on how to connect with the ideal person if I'm trying to sell a product. So I thought that was helpful.
Yeah, what's the book? And was that Aaron Carpenter?
Aaron, yeah. Jab,
Nice.
jab, right hook.
Legendary lion.
Yeah. Jab, jab, right hook.
Yes, Gary Vaynerchuk. I was just watching him on TikTok while you guys were in your rooms, which, got to take in the TikTok before it gets banned. So awesome. Yeah, that's a phenomenal book. Love that book. Gary V has some good content. I would follow him anywhere you can if you're looking for those kind of tips. Great tip, Aaron. Other things that stood out to you?
Joe, this is such an amazing presentation series. You're such a generous presentation of a wealth of knowledge. I'm a psychiatrist in New York City and Chicago, also do psychotherapy and addiction work. And you, Joe, you highlight the perfect people. Like you highlighted Wendella Marsh. She was in the small group and she's doing some amazing stuff. She gave some really good feedback.
Arnab, thank you so much. And did I say your name correctly? I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we've had a bunch of psychiatrists come through. We actually had, for a bit, we had like a bubble of massage therapists. So even though we say counselors and therapists, really any service-based industry, we have coaches that sometimes come through too. So yeah, our membership community is, I think, except for maybe a couple details, will be totally, applicable to you. But thank you so much. Love hearing that.
Sure.
Was there something that Wendy said in your small group that to you stood out?
Yeah, I was having challenges hiring some virtual assistants from India and from the Philippines. Say if I would mention 10 points, they might understand 3, 4, and I would have to repeat things, 20 times, 30 times, not time effective. And Wendy mentioned how she found a great assistant on, on other platforms like Upwork and Facebook.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was really great feedback.
Upwork is awesome. I just hired someone just to do some coding. So that calculator that we're giving away, so the calculator is how to kind of set the rates for people that you're hiring, and you can put in all your expenses, and then it says like percentage based versus fixed pay versus salary. That coding cost me $35 on Upwork. I found a guy there that now we're gonna hire for all of our coding. We have a team that can do coding, but I was just like, here's the Google sheet. I want you to turn this into a beautiful thing like this, and within like 4 hours, he had it done. And so Upwork's a great way to start when you just get going, and then sometimes you start bringing people in-house. So that's wonderful. Thanks for that. Amanda, I'm putting in the chat that Michelle was about to say something profound, but got cut off from the group. No pressure for Michelle, but we got to hear this.
I don't know how profound it is, but so she's a new therapist. Amanda is that. Well, she's not new, but she's new to private practice. She's been working for community mental health, and we were talking about Medicaid. Now, I take Medicaid. I take many different types of insurances, and but my friend has a cash pay private practice, and what she did is she developed a separate nonprofit where she solicited funds from the community to give to support those who don't have money to cash pay for her services. And so she doesn't take insurance at all, but then she has a separate nonprofit where she says, hey, I can pay for your service because, people donated to. And I thought that was a really kind of smart way to go about that if you were just going to do cash pay.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm also going to put in, this is one of our sponsors, but they're awesome. We've sent so many of our consulting clients there, to Mentaya. Mentaya does out-of-network billing for private pay practices, and they directly work with the client to usually get them 70% of your full pay back. So basically, your clients are paying $30 to $40 out of pocket. Then the rest is being covered, which they would have probably paid with insurance anyway. So if you are out of network, Mentaya is a great place to work with. It's run by some former Google executives there. So we've got to know each other over the years. Awesome. Thanks for that, Michelle. And yeah, I've heard lots of people have that kind of business model of creating nonprofits to do some of that work. Maybe a couple more of things that really stood out to you that people had to say.
I don't see the person that I was in my group with that mentioned this to me, but she encouraged me because she said she did this, of the importance of there is more money to be gotten or to be received from insurance company when you go through somebody to do the credentialing and going through that kind of stuff. And it's something that I've been resistant about because I've been in this long enough. I'm like, I did it all by myself before. Why can't I not keep doing it by myself now? in the fact that I need to probably just kind of let that piece go and go ahead and let my money go to somebody who could possibly get me more money from an insurance company instead of just sitting here with the same rates.
Awesome. Sounds like Jeanette said in the chat that was her that said that. So that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. Bernie, I saw your hand go up and down. Were you just virtually stretching or no? Just
No, I got some great encouragement from the fellows in my group. Luis was telling me about how he makes videos going on jogs, and I'd posted earlier in the week. I need to get a little more confident in posting videos, especially for couples therapy. I have a feeling that one spouse will call me and then the other one doesn't. They didn't talk to me, so they're not confident. So I'm thinking if I just give a video and say, hey, give your spouse this video. This is for them. That'll help out with before the sessions.
Yeah, on Monday we were working with another couples therapist talking through just building content. And so we went onto Google and just typed in, why does my husband, and then see what Google came up with, and then why does my wife, and then what Google came up with, and got so many great blog ideas. And some of them were hilarious. Like both of them had, why does my husband fart so much, and why does my wife fart so much? But then there's also like, why does my husband not love me? Why does my wife, give me the silent treatment? And like, you just think about creating videos or content or blog posts just around from a therapeutic perspective. Like, why does someone stonewall? Pull in some of the Gottman research, pull in, your own therapeutic perspective. The biggest thing I see, and maybe some of the next level practice people can affirm this, is just getting started somewhere. So pulling out your phone, doing some Instagram lives, just practicing talking about things. If you have a client session and you feel like I've covered this like 5 times today, you don't have to say anything about the clients, but just say, I had 5 couples today that came in and they're all dealing with money issues. There must be something in the air. Maybe it's tax season coming up. So how do you think about tax season and money with couples? That's great content that if you're just once a day saying, I'm going to do a 90-second Instagram story every day for a month, you're going to see all sorts of things start to happen. I actually have a consulting client that I challenged him to do 50 Instagram reels in 2 weeks between our sessions. He did it, and his follower count went from like 300 to over 1,000 in just 2 weeks. And so he helps men that are dealing with all sorts of different like emotional intelligence issues. And sometimes just doing these like social media sprints to really quickly see if it makes an impact can just get you out of your comfort zone. Because Bernie, just talking to you for this little bit here, my guess is that you're easy to talk to. I mean, you're a therapist, you seem confident. That's going to be the skills you need to be good on video, and so it's like you already have those skills. People are crying it with us within 10 minutes of an intake. So like we have these skills. It's just realizing they transfer great into social media. Let's see. All right. Video can be really strong as an introduction to you and your services. Yeah, it's such a great point. I forgot what the stat was, but when Kupla Media was around, they're not around anymore. They specifically worked with therapists in video. It was these twin brothers. They had found, I think it was like 70% more conversions just on having an intro video on your homepage of saying like, hey, I'm Joe. I'm a therapist. I help angry teenagers. Here's a little bit about me, and here's why I like working with angry teens. Some people had to leave early. Let's see. Gotta go to a client. How do I get the discount? So, Michelle, I'm not sure if you're still in here. If you didn't put in that promo code for Next Level Practice to get the discount, let me actually just have Jen look at that. I will text her right now your name. Boom. Taken care of. If for some reason you don't see that reflected, drop me an email. But our team should be on that with all the onboarding. Some people had to run, bye. If we join group practice launch, what can we expect to happen as far as first steps? Awesome question. So right away, we start the onboarding process. And so Jen and Kate get you all into Circle, get your profile set up. You get immediate access then into group practice launches courses. So we have 6 months of courses. So week by week, you're going to just start taking those courses that will walk you through those first steps. So like thinking about your website different from it being a solo to being a group, thinking through 1099 versus W2, thinking about your marketing plan, your operations, your HR, if someone's going to be a W2, having something like Gusto on. So you're going to start going through those. And then when we kick off our meetings in a couple of weeks, because our team needs to take a breath after Level Up Week, then in a couple of weeks in early April, that's when the meetings kick off every Thursday. And so our consultants, myself included, Ash, Andrew, myself, and then we bring in some guests, help run those every single Thursday. And so that's a mixture of some teachings as well as some Q&A from that. So the idea is that everyone that's in group practice launch is in that month going through month one's content within Circle. You can always work ahead if you want to, but then you're going through that content and then coming to the meetings every week and asking questions. And then there's also a small group each month that's run by Kate, where you get to be with all the other group practice launchers and be able to say, like, how's it going? Very similar to this, talking through the different steps. Where are you stuck? Really getting that peer support. And then you also get an accountability partner that you get paired up with, that you two get to decide how you're going to connect. And if there's more, Jeanette, that you want me to dig into, I'm happy to dig into more if there's additional questions you have on that. Has anyone here been through group practice launch that would want to add anything to what I just said in regards to kind of what your experience has been? I know a lot of people had to bounce to head to their next thing, but yeah, go ahead, Wendy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I knew nothing about how to do a group. I apologize. And the way it went step by step was really helpful. And one of the early things was getting a virtual assistant. And then step by step after that, I just found it really helpful as somebody who came in with zero knowledge, but knew that I wanted to do this. It was the perfect thing for me. So I highly recommend.
You know, my best friend, I was in his wedding, he was in mine. He's a therapist that's looking at potentially leaving his current employment. And he actually signed up for group practice launch. I made him pay for it so he'd be invested and not just get it for free. And he's gone through it. So even my best friend is like, this has been awesome. And, you know, when you have a friend go through it, they're going to tell you if shit hits the fan. So, which it didn't. Would just love for you in either the chat or in the reactions to put, how was this for you? You know, what emoji really represents this time together and what's working? Is it a mind blown? Is it something? So a thumbs up I see coming through. We've got some things that people said. Thanks. Aaron, thanks for those kind comments about our team. Amanda, thanks for the kind comments about it. And thanks for all those emojis. Aaron, thanks for the smiley faces, the celebration from Bernie, the clapping from Arnab. So thank you so much, everyone. Bye. Today's episode is brought to you by Alma, and as a clinician, you probably chose this field because you wanted to support people in navigating challenges and finding personal growth. I know for myself, the paperwork, the logistics, all of that got in the way of doing the actual clinical work that I absolutely loved. But many mental health care providers end up spending almost as much time on billing, insurance, and other documentation as you do in seeing sessions with clients. That's where Alma can help. Alma supports clinicians in building rewarding private practices with simplified insurance credentialing in under 45 days, enhanced reimbursement rates, and guaranteed 2-week paybacks, plus a free profile in their searchable, filterable directory, making it easy for clients who are the right fit for your practice to find you. Learn more about how Alma can support you in building a thriving private practice at helloalma.com/Joe. That's hello, ALMA.com/Joe to learn more. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.